On the Choose to Think podcast, I will encourage and empower you to engage and optimize your best thought life in practical, meaningful ways so that you can live day by day in joy, peace, and God's purpose despite all externals. This is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I was driving home from grocery shopping recently, and a wicked thunderstorm came out of nowhere. What had been a partly sunny day had quickly turned into what seemed like dusk at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. My car was being pulled in all directions from the gusting wind. Limbs of trees were snapping off like twigs, and they were being they were strewn all over the roads. I even saw lightning strike a transformer right before my very eyes. The explosion sent up a ball of fire, smoke, and sparks, just like the 4th of July fireworks display. Well, the rain was driving so hard that you know how many cars just pull over when they put their flashers on. My husband, Jim, called me while I was driving, trying to encourage me to get home fast. He said it was even hailing at our house. Shoo, these weather storms can be positively frightful, and truly it's no different with the storms of life. And I wonder about you. What storm are you experiencing right now? Could it be that your husband lost his job and you are fretting over finances? Could it be that you received a troubling health diagnosis and you are wringing your hands wondering what to do? Perhaps it's not you, but your loved one is ill and you feel powerless to help. Or maybe your marriage feels a bit bumpy right now and you find yourself distancing yourself from everyone. Maybe you're totally spent and burned out from a caregiving role or even from volunteering. Are you looking for security amidst all the chaos of life, looking for some refuge in times of trouble and struggles, praying that God will give you strength to endure as you feel weak and inept? Goodness, I can relate to all of these scenarios in one way or another, whether historically or even right now. My family is in a storm of sorts as we attempt to help my elderly parents during the season of their lives. And let me tell you, the way is not easy, the road is not clear, and the rain is definitely pouring down on all of us. The wind seems to be howling all right, and often we're left motionless, not sure of our next move or where we should even go or what to do. It feels unsteady, in part because this is so unfamiliar for all of us. We are learning as we go, and that in and of itself is also difficult. Now, what if I told you that by the end of this episode, you would have a concrete survival plan to help you feel calmer, more grounded, less reactive, that you'll experience more joy, peace, and connection, that you're going to feel more confident and more safe and sheltered in the midst of any storm? Do you long for that? Well, our thought for the day is from Psalm 46:1. God is my refuge and strength. And please remember that this episode is a part of a series that comes with a free resource called 30 Daily Affirmations. Be sure to tap the link in the show notes to get your free download today. So, God is your refuge and your strength. This word refuge in Hebrew means everything you think it might. It's a shelter from rain, from the storm, from danger, and even from falsehood. And the word strength in Hebrew alludes to might, power, and boldness. Letting God be your refuge and strength isn't just poetic, it's deeply practical and transformative, especially for the mind and brain. And this is where it gets really, really good. What does letting God be your refuge and strength really mean? It means that you stop trying to carry everything alone. Are you doing that? You're trying to do it all on your own. It means that you start turning to Him first, not last. And it means that you learn to live out of rest and reliance, not out of fear and striving. And why is this so crucial for your brain and your mind? Because when you mentally run to God as your refuge, you're retraining your brain to respond to stress with faith, not fear. You're forming new neural pathways that literally embed trust and peace into your thought life. And okay, I'm going to give you 3 practical tips because you know I love that. You know that I love to say, okay, that's a Bible verse, but okay, how do we do that in real life? How do I apply that to my life? And I do have 3 ideas, but let me tell you that I don't want this ever to seem Sally Super Christian kind of stuff or very flippant or just 3 tips to, you do this and it's a get rich quick kind of thing. I always say that. Or there's nothing easy about doing all these things is what I'm trying to say. It sounds easy, but it's really not as easy as it sounds. And just this morning, I had a troubling situation. My heart was just so heavy and I was driving. It's about a 30-minute drive to go pick up my 2 of my grandchildren because we have Nana days once a week. And I was driving over to get them, and have you ever been in your car and you're listening to praise and worship music and you just totally break down? Well, that's kind of what happened to me. I just totally had a breakdown. Here it is early in the morning. I'm looking forward to the day because I love to be with my grandchildren, and I knew it would always be fun because they're so sweet and funny and engaging, and it's just there's like 3 energy balls coming into my home, and it is just the energy the house is just it must be like beating or expanding on the outside if somebody could see it because there's so much energy here, and I love it. I love their energy. I love the things that they say. My grandson is 4 years old, and the words that come out of his mouth, it's just hilarious, and just their expressions and how they're doing. I just love it. But I was driving to go get them, and I was just bawling, and I kept finding myself thinking I knew this episode was going to air, and I'm like, "Okay, Victoria, you now need God as your refuge and your strength. What about those 3 tips that you're gonna talk about in the episode? Can you do those? And you need to do those." And so I found myself even trying hard. I mean, in the moment, all I wanted to do was just cry. Applying these tips, it's easy, but it's hard because the hard part is that we have to, number 1, believe that they're really gonna help us. But I can tell you they do because even when I was driving this morning, though I wanted to kinda kick back against 3 tips to remember that God is my refuge and my strength, when to kick back against that a little bit, I also knew that if I started saying who God is, that's one of the tips, his names, that it would drastically change the atmosphere in the car. And as I was driving, and that's really exactly what happened. So you can take these with a grain of salt, or you can say, that sounds good. Maybe the next time I need to know that God is my refuge and strength, I'm going to circle back. I'm going to double back, and I'm going to maybe read those again and think, okay, could I do these things? And might it give me some relief? Might it give me all those things I mentioned at the very beginning that if you stay the end, you're going to have more joy, peace, and feel connected. You're going to feel calmer, more grounded, less reactive, more confident, safer, and sheltered no matter what you're going through. And truly, brain science would support everything I'm going to share with you here. And it's not a long episode, even. It's very, very quick, but it works, but you kind of have to do it. But sometimes you may not be in the mood to do it. And I get that. It's like the last thing you're going to want to do is do these things. But if you have the forethought to try to put these into play, I think that you will find them very, very helpful. So when you mentally run to God as your refuge, you're retraining your brain to respond to stress with faith, not fear. You're forming new neural pathways that literally embed trust and peace into your thought life. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes to do that. And so you hit a storm like I was driving that one day. You hit a storm in life, and instantly your brain goes to these tips. Let me just give you the 3 points. I absolutely love collecting scriptural wall hangings. There's just something about surrounding myself in my home with God's word that brings so much peace and joy to my heart and helps me repeatedly focus on who God is no matter where I am in my house. One of my favorites is based on today's verse. God is my refuge and strength. I found a few beautiful options on Amazon in different styles and price points, and I'd love for you to check them out. Just tap the affiliate link in the show notes or episode description. And here's the best part. If you shop using the affiliate link in the show notes, you won't pay a penny more, but it does help support the podcast. It's a win-win. Go take a peek and fill your home with God's truth, or send to a friend who's going through a storm right now, as it makes a really great gift. God is my refuge and strength. You're going to love the calligraphy. Some of them are made of wood, some of them of cloth, but they're really awesome. So check them out. So how do you practically remind your brain that God is your refuge and strength? Number 1, you're going to create a refuge ritual, a consistent daily pause. Number 2, you're going to journal the exchange, my burden for his strength. And I have a little bit more to say about that. And then number 3, you're going to speak God's name when you feel overwhelmed. And that's when we're going to get into talking about his name. But okay, the first one, a refuge ritual. I love the thought of that, a refuge ritual. What do I do when I need refuge? And there's something about pausing during the day. And by the way, this is good to do whether you're in a storm or not. Just at your everyday day, I know you've got stressors in your life. I know you need to just take 5, 10 minutes and pause and just breathe. You've heard of people having prayer closets, right? Well, do you have one, or do you have a special place in your home, in your office where you regularly meet with God? Do you remember as a kid how you loved to build forts? I've talked about this on the show before, but even now, my grands will drape sheets and blankets around the bottom bunk in what we call the kids' room in our house. They even build small structures out of poster boards and other items, and they crawl into those and create all these little rooms. I go in to check on them, and they're cramped into this tiny place. Sometimes they even have little 5-pound Rico the Morkie in there with them, my little doggy. They love it. Why? Because as humans, we feel safe in the coziness of small shelters and secret hideaways. We feel secure when our little community is close by and the walls are near. So give yourself a break from the storm that you're in and find shelter in God. Pause in your car, in your prayer closet, in your bathroom, and pray to Him. God, help me to sense your presence right now in the midst of the storm I'm facing. Shelter me from all the toxicity I must face. Be my refuge from the thoughts and worries and anxieties I seem to fixate on. Help me to hear your voice as a small whisper, letting me know you're here. What a great prayer. In addition to your normal routine and work schedule, could you create space for a consistent daily pause in the middle of your day where you take 5 to 10 minutes every day to seek God, just to be still before Him? It's where you literally run to Him and declare who He is. You can declare His names and that your help comes from His character and His names. There's nothing fancy about doing this. You would simply sit in a quiet spot, your quote shelter place. This is your ritual, right? If it's convenient, or go off in a small place. You can even go by yourself to a park if you're in, just sit outside on a bench. Try to calm yourself down physically by taking a few deep breaths and then talk to God or simply be still before Him. Breathe deeply several times to allow the cortisol to dissipate in your body. Repeat your favorite Bible verses. God, you are my refuge and strength. That's our thought for the day. You could repeat that. You could even tell Him, you're always ready to help me in my time of need. You know what I need more than I do. Those sorts of things, those sorts of declarations you can make when you're pausing and you're praying, you're talking to Him, you're breathing, you're slowing down, you're letting the dust settle on all the stressors in your life and just wait for Him. Just wait for Him. Create that little refuge ritual in your life. And you can do it every day, even whether you feel like you need a refuge or not. It's so helpful because the effect on your brain is that it lowers cortisol, it strengthens those neural pathways of peace, and it resets your stress response. So the first thing is to create a refuge ritual and take a consistent daily pause there if you can. Number 2 is journal the exchange. What do we mean by that? My burden for His strength. So I have actually 2 ideas here. You could develop a simple journaling habit where you acknowledge what you're carrying and give it to God. You feel burdened? Tell God about it. It's really simple. Take a piece of paper out and draw 2 columns and label them what I'm holding versus what God promises. And then you write down what you're holding on to, what you can't seem to let go of, like your fears, your anxieties, your burdens. Describe the storm that you're facing. Then look up a promise that counters each one and personalize the message. For example, if you're worried about a work conflict with your job and your reputation are on the line, for example, you could use Isaiah 41:10, and you can write this down. I will not be afraid, for I am with you, God. I will not be discouraged because you are my God. You will strengthen me and help me. You will hold me up with your victorious right hand. So, I mean, that's like, I kind of personalized that. But so the first part was, do not be afraid, for I am with you. So what you say is, I will not be afraid, for you are with me, God. I think I said that wrong the first time, but you get the idea. You just take a Bible verse and then you personalize it based on, your scenario. You're talking really just to God and allow those truths. I will not, the declarations that you're making, I will not be discouraged because you are my God. You will strengthen me and help me. You will hold me up with your victorious right hand. I mean, when I say that with conviction, like I mean it, it really resonates in my spirit down to my soul. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's right. Things that I may be forgetting otherwise. What is the impact on your brain when you do that? This simple task of, what I'm holding versus what God promises, doing this, writing this down, strengthens the prefrontal cortex. That's where logic and peace kind of are. Over your amygdala, oh, there it is, the big A, amygdala, or fear, and boosts long-term trust. Now, the second idea I have is very similar. Instead of labeling the columns with what I am holding, what God promises, you can make a can't control and a can control list, kind of like side by side. You surrender to God those things you cannot control, and you focus on those things that you can control. For example, you cannot control the health of your aging parent, but you can control what snacks and foods you bring to them. You cannot control their personal pain, but you can encourage them by your presence and find ways to distract them by listening to music or doing crossword puzzles together, which is a bonding thing, releasing those feel good hormones that kind of dampen some of the pain they may be feeling. So, okay, let's recap the practical ways you can remind your brain that God is your refuge and your strength. Number one, you can create a refuge ritual, taking a daily pause to commune with God. Number two, you can journal your emotions and feelings and surrender them to God by reminding Him of His promises. You can pray about those things you can't control in life, surrendering those to God. Figuratively, you exchange your burden for His strength. And the third practical action item is to speak His name when you feel overwhelmed. We kind of touched on that just a little bit. In Psalm 124:8, it says, "Our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." And in Proverbs 18, it says, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous man runs into it and is safe." Do you know the names of God? Does it make sense to you that when you mentally run to God as your refuge, that you call out to Him by name? What are a few names of God that you may need to call out today as you remind God of His character? And you're essentially reminding yourself, and you're telling your brain these things so that your brain can latch onto those, so that when you repeatedly do that, you're forming those new neural pathways. So it's easier to remember His names. When you call out God's names, you're essentially repeating biblical truths about the essence of the God that you serve. This, in part, is extremely powerful. So here are a few of the names that I love. Jehovah Jireh, God is your provider. El Roy, the God who sees you. El Shaddai, the all-sufficient one. Adonai, your Lord and Master. Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals. Jehovah Nisi, the Lord your banner. Jehovah Shalom, the Lord your peace. And Jehovah Ra is your shepherd. I love all of those. You can call out to those. What do you need right now? Do you need provisions? He's Jehovah Jireh. Do you feel unnoticed and unseen? He's El Roy. Do you need healing? Is your health in question? He is Jehovah Rapha. Do you need love? Did you know the banner over you is love, and the Lord is your banner? Are you feeling like everything is chaotic? Well, maybe you need Jehovah Shalom, your peace. Maybe you just need guidance, but you have Jehovah Ra, your shepherd. I mean, listen, I totally get it that it's so easy to run to your friends, to the internet, to WebMD, to your own solutions during times of crises and storm. But if you are in a storm today, let me suggest there is a better way, and that is to call out the name of God. Pick one. This is where your help is found. God's name is powerful in and of itself, and I suspect that He likes to hear it. I'll tell you a funny thing. I often tell Jim how much I love it when he calls me by my name. And I know that sounds odd, but it's really true. The truth is, I can go days without having anyone call me by my given first name. I might hear mom and sis or friend, but my name Victoria is a bit more rare to hear. And when I do hear my name, I'm kind of astounded. It really grabs my attention, especially when my husband Jim says Victoria. He might say I love you, which is awesome. But if he says I love you, Victoria, my heart turns over. I feel selected, chosen, and like I have his full attention. And let me add, adoration. Well, we recently celebrated a wedding anniversary, and for gifts, we always write each other letters. Now you can guess whose idea that is. But this year, his letter started Victoria, Victoria, Victoria. And then in parentheses, he had, do you like reading your name as much as you like hearing it? Oh my goodness, that made me laugh so hard. I loved it. I absolutely loved it because he knows I love to hear my name when he says it. And I wonder if God is kind of that way. Does He enjoy it when you call out to Him by His name? Does that name cut through the noise in any way and shoot like an arrow straight to His heart? Does He accept your utterances as praise and adoration? Somehow I think so. Well, goodness, there's so many names of God. But remember, His name represents His character, power, and presence. Trusting God's name means relying on who He is rather than relying on earthly strength. His name equals your help because it reflects His sovereign power and creative authority. And my guess is that your God and Father in heaven probably really does enjoying His children like you call Him by name. After all, it's a sign of knowing someone. Isn't that awesome? To know God. What a wonderful religion Christianity actually is. We can actually know Jesus as our personal Lord, Adonai, and Savior. We can know him. We can call to him by name. I mean, Jesus also has so many names, doesn't he? I haven't even made a list for all of those, but he's a bright morning star. Don't you want a bright morning star in your life? Someone, and you can call him by that. Like, Jesus, you are the bright morning star. That's what I want to see each morning. That's the light that's going to shine on my path. I mean, there's so many things that you can say just by remembering God's names. And this kind of spiritual discipline has remarkable physiological effects. It's really going to impact your brain. When you praise God by name or you seek shelter in his name, when you say, God, you are my refuge and my strength, your brain experiences a powerful transformation. Your stress decreases, the cortisol drops, it calms down your fears, and clear thinking returns. All those joy chemicals rise up. Now, the stress goes down, but the joy goes up. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, they're going to boost hope, peace, and connection. These are scientifically proven impacts. Also, faith pathways strengthen. Think about your brain. Those wires in your brain, when you call out God's name and you praise him, you are rewiring your brain to trust God more easily over time. The repetition is key. Maybe every day you can go into your little refuge ritual, that little shelter that you build, your prayer closet, and you can repeatedly say his names. That's why the 30 affirmations are so important, that free download and resource that I have for you, because you can use that and simply say those affirmations every single day. If you're a Patreon subscriber and member, you can, to the Choose to Think podcast, you can also hear me saying all of those. I have a complete audio that you can download and use there. And so that you're just playing those constantly. You're hearing them over and over again. God, you are my refuge and my strength. And so you're literally rewiring your brain. Also, when you do these things, your body relaxes. When you focus on God, you engage your nervous system, and this focus brings physical peace. You engage your nervous system in a new way, don't you? As you're calming down. And finally, your perspective shifts. Fear is reframed by God's truth, and faith actually replaces your anxiety. Knowing that God is your strength and your refuge and your strength, and then making these practical applications. It's not just spiritual disciplines here. It's actually neurological disciplines, because your mind, your body, and your soul will all find refuge when you run to God. And so if you're facing a storm today, whether it's swirling around your circumstances or journeying inside your soul, please remember this. God is your refuge and your strength. He's not asking you to weather this storm alone. Instead, he invites you to run to him, call on his name, and rest in his presence. As you create daily rhythms of pausing in his presence, journaling the exchange of your burdens for his strength, and declaring his powerful names aloud, your heart's going to calm down, your mind renews, and your body finds peace. Worshiping God in this way rewires your brain. Trust transforms your perspective, and his name becomes your shelter in every storm. And hey, if this episode encouraged you today, would you share it with a friend who might be going through a storm of her own? Let's remind each other we are never alone, and God is always near. And I love you, and I couldn't thank you enough for tuning in to the Choose to Think Inspirational podcast. It means the world to me. It would be amazing if you could write a review, if you like it. An authentic and just a truth-filled review of the show on Apple Podcasts, or go to the YouTube channel and just subscribe and make some comments there. That it would just be so powerful. But I want you to do it if you really mean it. You know what I mean? I'm not just like begging just to have numbers, but I really want to hear from you, and I want to know that this is making an impact, because it does encourage my heart when I know that even one listener there says, "Oh, Victoria, that really spoke to me." Man, my heart just flips over, and I'm so grateful that you are here and that you take time to listen and kind of enter into my life and everything that's going on as I share what it's like for me to be a 21st century Christian living in the United States and being over 50, all of those things kind of together. And our experience hopefully is similar, and we're in this together, and it's not always perfect. It's not always tied up with a pretty bow. It's messy and it's difficult at times. And I just want you to know that I'm in the struggle with you, and things aren't always perfect, But we do serve a God who is perfect and who loves us more than we could ever possibly imagine. And I hope that you feel the love of Jesus today. Even right now, this very moment, I hope that Jesus is just whispering tenderly to your heart and pulling you up so close, so tight that you can almost feel his hug. He really is your shelter, and he certainly is your strength. So God bless you. I love you so much. And you keep choosing to think so that you can truly live your best thought life. Okay, let's do that together. And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. And listen, if you like what you hear, would you leave us a 1 to 2 sentence review at Apple Podcasts? Share the link with a friend or tag me on your share on social media. It would mean the world to me and would help us to keep shining the light of Christ and sharing the good news to others who are in need of encouragement. Please visit us on our website at choosetothink.co. That's with the number 2, choosetothink.co, to get on our monthly newsletter list. And if you need a guest speaker for your next women's retreat or church event, I'm your gal. Email me at choosetothink@gmail.com, and that's with the number 2, choosetothink@gmail.com. Finally, I offer limited free mentoring sessions each month where you and I can chat to help you develop a strategy for your thoughts in any area of your life. I'm a certified life coach and I have something to share. Visit choosetothink.co and click on mentoring for more details. Also, keep in mind that the messages on this show are for informational and educational purposes only. Please consult your medical doctor for all medical issues. Thank you again for tuning in. God bless you.